Today I'm going to show you how to take these blank, boring notebooks and turn them into easy, awesome, and beautiful art journals. So what I'm going to do is pull out my drawers of scrap gel printed papers. I have about 3 drawers that I've stocked up with a bunch of different prints, some that I have scraps that maybe I used for larger projects and some that I printed and really never used. I love the look of these hearts. I think they're going to make a great journal cover for my daughter. And I just, will pull the papers out of the drawer and hold them up against the journal that I'd like to use and just kind of eyeball whether or not I think the size is right. I have 3 different types of journals. One is a Cambridge, and it's a professional rule notebook with a spiral bound, and it is great for me for work. And then this one that's on the table right now is a little bit smaller, and I'll put a link to it by Simple Genius in the notes, and it's really handy for art journaling and all sorts of things too. So to prepare the journal, you just peel the stickers off. The surface is really ready to go, and if you use the right adhesive, you can make the paper lay down pretty well. And then this one's one of those wide-ruled composition books that you can find anywhere, really. I think I got this one at Target. And so I'm just going to trace around. That way I can pick my composition. I can pick what part of the artwork I want to be on the cover. I'm going to trace around and then cut the piece of paper down to size. And that way I can glue it onto the front of the journal cover, and it'll be really sturdy. The nice thing about gel printed paper is acrylic essentially is kind of thick like plastic once the paint dries, and it dries quickly, as you probably know. So it's going to reinforce that cover of the notebook. And so now that I have one cut out, I'll use that as my template to cut out the back. For this particular notebook, and for all of the notebooks that I am showing you today, I am doing similar designs on the front and back cover of the notebook. Oops, got a little pencil on my art. That's okay. That's why we use pencil. Yeah, so you see that I've used the same stencil and made lots of different prints. Sometimes I'll use, the original stencil print, and then I will use the ghost print for the back. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but I think it looks kind of neat when you have the same stencil design with different paint on the front and the back. So of course, I'm pulling out my Tombow Xtreme adhesive and covering the back of the gel print page with tape. And I do put quite a bit down, a lot more down for this application than I would for a greeting card or some other things. But I expect that this journal is going to survive a purse or a bag and can take a little bit more of a beating and regular usage. So that's why I use so much. And then I just take my time and carefully line it up and press it down at the seam and smooth it out. And then, all right, I already have myself a great looking notebook. And I just decide based on what kind of look I'm going for, which one I'll use for the cover and which one I use for the back of the journal. But they're beautiful either way you choose it, but it's nice because you can have kind of a different look. So again, I'll layer on more adhesive. That Tombow adhesive works really, really well for this type of project. And then I'll go ahead and put it on the front. And then once I get it down flat and smooth it out, you can see this is a really easy process. You can get this done really quick, and then you have a whole new look to your journal. But the edges of the composition book are rounded. And so I thought, well, let me go ahead and get my scissors out and I'll round it too. I'll round the paper out. You don't have to do that. You could leave it squared off if you prefer. But I thought that it was a nice look, and so I finished mine off by rounding the edges. Another thing you can do is cover the spine. I chose not to do that this time. I thought that the spine looked pretty good, but I did see that I had a little bit of paper hanging over the edge, and it's easy enough just to trim any excess. You'd rather have too much than too little, and you can just flatten out your book and put it on the cutting board and cut it. With that black spine that was already there, I chose to just leave it. I'm going to see how it does. You could put clear packing tape over the edge if you wanted to, Or there's another trick that I'll show you in a little bit that you can use to finish off the edge. This one is the spiral, the Cambridge spiral, and this is the one I use for work a lot, and a lot of different things. I've used it for studying for school. I love this notebook. I've probably gone through close to 100 of them over the course of my career. And so again, I'm just picking my composition and doing an outline of what part of the design I would like to have. And this is another example of a stencil that I've used on multiple different prints, and I picked two so that the front cover and the back cover are going to be very similar, but yet a different piece of art. As you can see, this one I think I was a little bit heavier with the paint and got some more detail out of some of those greener leaves, whereas the other one was a little bit lighter. And I can also see here I got some blotches of blue from the gel plate on there too, and I kind of like that look. I think it'll look really neat on a cover for an art notebook. So one of the things that I'm not going to show you in this video but can show you in a different video is decorating the pages on the inside. So sometimes I will take those deli papers or more gel prints and I'll make dividers within the notebook and continue to add layers in the notebook. And so that's again, something I can show you in future videos, but for now, we're just keeping it simple and doing the cover and the back cover of the notebook. So I'll go ahead and repeat that process with the adhesive. And again, I'm not holding back. I'm going to put plenty of tape on the back of that paper because I really want it to stay. This is going to go into my briefcase with my laptop and any other types of, paperwork, car keys, all that. And so I needed to take a beating, and I've done this for a while now and have found that the Tombow really holds up well, and it might take me months to go through one notebook. So it really does hold up well, and I can attest to that because of the thickness of the acrylic on the top of the paper, as well as the strength of the adhesive. Now, the type of paper that I've used to gel print is most likely Bristol. Sometimes I'll use mixed media paper, but I think for these prints I was using a Bristol, which is a little bit thicker, so that does help with the durability also. And I'm just lining up the paper really close to the spine and I'm smoothing it out. And I found that I had a couple of pencil marks left over and it was easy enough to clean that. So really nice look there with that leaf print, and great for springtime or summer even, as it is getting hot where I live. So then for my final notebook, it's the smallest one and it has fewer pages in it, so it'll fill up a little bit faster, and it does not have a spiral on the end. It's a sewn binding without any sort of edging on it over the binding. And so what I'm finding is, as I measure, that I can actually get the front and back cover out of the same sheet of paper, which is exciting. So I can save that other piece that I had picked out for later. So again, I'll trace it and then I'm going to cut it out. These are probably my favorite for art journaling, gratitude journals. I really do like to fill these types of journals up with deli pages on the inside and quotes. You can do all sorts of interesting journal prompts, but I do find that I fill them rather quickly. So can't get too attached because they're going to be full before you know it. So then I'll again use that original piece that I sized up as my template and go ahead and cut out my next piece and make sure that I have it lined up pretty well. And the cutting board helps make this a very quick and easy process. And then I'll go ahead and lay down plenty of adhesive on the back of each of those prints and go ahead and set them up on the front cover and the back cover of my art journal. So there you have it. Another journal. And this process has just been, less than 15 minutes to make 3 journals out of paper that I had already printed. So it's a really great application for you to go ahead and use some of your art prints. I know many times when I'm gel printing, I think, what am I going to do with these pages? And I don't like having artwork stacking up at my house. So I like to use them for things that I can get out the door, share with friends, send to people, and use. You want to make sure that surface is clean. So I picked off just a little bit of debris from there, and then I'll be ready to go and put my final piece on it. Once I get this last page taped down to the back or the front cover, whichever it is, you'll see kind of how I handle the corners. And I find that I have a little bit of excess hanging over. So after I get it smoothed out, and I take my time because I don't want it to hang over on the edge with the seam. If you're going to have anything hang over, you want it to hang over on the edge that does not have the seam, because it makes it a lot easier to deal with if you decide to trim it. And so that's what I find here. I'm going to go ahead and round the corner just a little bit, and then I did decide to tackle that excess at the top. In hindsight, I honestly probably should have left it, because I'm not the best at cutting straight, and those scissors are not the best. So if you have a little bit that's hanging over the edge, I would probably just leave it rather than try to trim it, but you can. And so I did that here. I'm almost done with those finishing touches, and then just rounding off one more corner to get the finished look. And then I decide that I want to deal with the binding. That edge is unfinished, and it's got some, I guess you can see the stitching is what I'm trying to say. So I don't really like that look, so I decided to pull out my duct tape. I've got this duct tape that looks pretty cool. It has a wood grain look to it, and you've probably seen many different styles of duct tape out there. There's a lot of different designs you can pick from, some cool things that you could use. But I thought with a lot of my artwork, something brown and organic looking might go well. So I did think that this wood grain would look nice with this particular print, and so I roll out more than I need on purpose, and I lay it down carefully about halfway across the tape, and then I cut it down below. But I don't worry about getting it cut perfectly right here, because that's, you know how duct tape is. It always loves to fold up on itself, so that can make it a little challenging. But this gives me a little bit of forgiveness so that I can stretch it over that edge, and then I can trim whatever was left myself. And so that's going to reinforce the binding and give it a nice finished look. It kind of looks like a book. And so I just trimming off whatever excess was left and smoothing it out, and I love that. I love how that looks, and I've tried it out as well. So there's a couple of images just of the detail of the fronts and backs of each of the art journals. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you are inspired to make some art journals out of your scraps of gel printed pages. And if you enjoyed, please head over to my blog at applmade.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a great day. Thank you.